SPP community. We are excited to talk today about the relationship between an anthropocentric thinking and formal biological knowledge. What is anthropocentrism? Anthro is human and centrism is the center. In the context of living organisms, it is the idea that humans have a special central place rather than being just one of the many organisms on planet Earth. An anthropocentric lens could have implications for learning scientific concepts that are non-anthropocentric, like evolution, and it can also have implications about human attitudes and actions towards the Earth. Whether, for example, humans think they can damage natural habitats with little effect on their own livelihood. We define anthropocentric thinking as the tendency to see humans as unique and biologically discontinuous with the rest of living kinds, which can lead to a distorted place of human beings in the natural world. Inspired by decades of research by scientists who have identified anthropocentric views in children and adults' thinking. Our goal was to describe how biology expertise affects anthropocentric misconceptions about the evolution of organisms. We recruited 276 participants across 3 levels of biology expertise, entering and advanced undergraduate biology majors and graduate students in biology. We presented all participants with 2 measures of anthropocentrism, the common ancestry measure, which has been widely used in the past, and a novel measure of evolutionary relations. In the common ancestry task, we asked participants to select all the organisms out of 9 that shared a common ancestor with humans. An anthropocentric point of view, which sees humans as unique and biologically discontinuous from the rest of living kinds, would be reflected in choosing fewer organisms on this task. The average number of species out of 9 selected by each population did not differ and averaged around 5, although a previous study did show an increase based on increased formal biology education from 8th graders to non-biology majors and to biology majors. The averages we observed are very close to that of biology majors from the previous study. However, this average number does not tell us anything about the distribution of responses. It could be the case that all participants are selecting 5 organisms, but in fact, we can see a bimodal distribution where 30% of the participants only selected 1 species and 40% selected all species. And when they only selected 1, it was always the ape. When thinking about the relationship between humans and other organisms, people either accept a connection to all organisms or they draw a strong boundary at primates.
We wanted to further explore how anthropocentric bias is related to common misconceptions about evolutionary relations between species. So our second task involved reading a cladogram. Here's how you read one. All organisms at the end of the branches are living species. Every junction represents the last common ancestor between species in the 2 branches. An ancestor that does not exist anymore, it's extinct. It is common for people to think of evolution as a ladder and place organisms on internal nodes rather than on the tips, or to read the trees along the tips, creating an ordered sequence from fish to frog and ultimately to humans. These 2 misconceptions could stem from an anthropocentric view that expects humans to be at the end of the linear progression from primitive to most highly developed species. We presented participants with an explanation on how to read a cladogram, and then we presented students with 6 different cladograms that contained 8 living species that varied in their distribution around the trees. We asked them to choose and rank the 3 most accurate. One of our main questions was whether students hold the common linear evolution misconception. So 2 of the cladograms presented the wrong linear evolutionary relations, and other 2 presented scientifically accurate evolutionary relations and placed organisms on the tip of the branches. Finally, there were these 2 distractors that contain some of the living species on top and some on the inner nodes. Note that the 2 correct cladograms show the exact same relationships between species. However, they differ in that this one has the human at the outermost position, whereas this one places human among other species and the macaque at the outermost position. Participants may read the cladogram along the tips, so preferring this cladogram may suggest an anthropocentric view consistent with the linear progression from macaque to gorilla and ultimately to humans. We classify this one as the cladogram as an anthro-correct response. The population did not differ from one another. Participants rejected the linear misconception shown by the low red bars and got the science right, choosing the correct cladograms at the most accurate. This is shown by the tall green bars. However, participants consistently preferred the diagram that depicted humans at the outermost branch, over the diagram that places humans at the inner location. So even though students make the accurate scientific choices, they may still have a tendency to place humans at a unique place among the rest of the living organisms. Overall, our data suggests that across all expertise levels, students perceive humans and other primates as a discontinuous group from the rest of the organisms. They may also be reading cladograms along the tips and placing human in a unique and more important role. This suggests that biological expertise at the undergraduate and at the graduate level does not override the anthropocentric bias. Thank you for coming. I will see you June 29th at a poster from 5 to 6.